Benjamin Perry. Perry, Bratting, and Pauley were all members of the now-defunct Plymouth Bandidos Motorcycle Club chapter. On May 12th, they spotted Mr. Crawford, a member of the Red Chiefs, on his motorcycle and wanted to talk to him about wearing his club colors on their patch. Mr. Crawford had traveled into Cornwall from Plymouth with other club members that evening, but went off alone to return to his home in Ivybridge, Devon. Bratting and Pauley, who were in a black Mercedes car, stopped Mr. Crawford on the St. Budeaux slip road before he was hit from behind by Perry's speeding Ford Transit. Footage obtained from dashcam cameras fitted in Perry's van showed the collision was no accident. The evidence has shown that Perry was not working alone and, along with Bratting and Pauley, the three men worked together in a callous and coordinated attack that ultimately took the life of David Crawford. All members of the now-defunct Plymouth Bandidos Motorcycle Club chapter acted after being alerted to the presence of the Hells Angels and their supporters, the Red Chiefs, in the area. All three denied murder but were convicted by a jury at Plymouth Crown Court in November. Chad Bratting, 36, and Thomas Pauley, 32, were also convicted of manslaughter and jailed for 4 years each. Benjamin Perry was jailed for 12 years at Exeter Crown Court for manslaughter. Richard DeVries. The reputed president of the Las Vegas Hells Angels was arrested during a court hearing as officials continued to search for two suspects recently indicted on racketeering and gang charges in connection with a shooting that injured members of the rivals Vagos Motorcycle Club. Richard DeVries, 67, was booked into the Clark County Detention Center. DeVries is one of 8 men recently indicted on racketeering charges in connection with the May shooting on a Henderson highway. Prosecutors have accused Hells Angels members of opening fire and injuring 6 Vagos motorcyclists on May 29th on U.S. Highway 95, west of Wagon Wheel Drive. A 7th person, who prosecutors said was a Hells Angels member, also arrived at a hospital with injuries following the confrontation. The shooting happened after a Memorial Day weekend ride from Hoover Dam to the Southern Nevada Veterans Memorial Cemetery in Boulder City. Prosecutors said the gunfire may have been in retaliation for a San Bernardino, California, shooting that left a Hells Angels motorcyclist dead. DeVries was initially arrested in May alongside Smith and Allo, who prosecutors have described as prospects for the Hells Angels. They were released from custody following their first arrest after posting a $75,000 bail. Judge Jones ordered DeVries to be remanded into custody during the hearing, according to court records, and set his bail at $250,000. Emery Pitt Martin. Emery Pitt Martin was arrested in 2018 after an RCMP investigation linked him to the cocaine trade. The 61-year-old man from St. Anne, Madawaska, appeared in Bathurst Provincial Court, joining via video conference because he was showing possible symptoms of COVID-19. The RCMP has identified Martin as a longtime member of the Hells Angels, the outlaw motorcycle gang known for trafficking drugs into the province from Quebec. The Crown and defense were initially seeking an 8-year prison sentence for Martin, but Judge Denise LeBlanc decided to reduce his sentence because he had already spent 1,209 days in prison since his arrest in 2018. During that time, Martin was held in solitary confinement for long periods of time and had also lost his right to privacy due to the presence of a surveillance camera in his cell. The court also reduced the length of his upcoming imprisonment by approximately 5 years after crediting him 1.5 days for each day he spent in prison prior to the trial. 14 others were arrested in 2018 as part of Operation J Thunder, an RCMP investigation targeting the sale of cocaine in the Acadian Peninsula and the Restigouche, Madawaska, and Victoria counties in northern New Brunswick. Due to his close ties to the Hells Angels, the RCMP believes he was the person who was primarily responsible for importing the drugs into the northwestern part of the province. Martin imported at least 96 kilos of cocaine over the summer of 2016 and the summer of 2017. Paul Mogilevsky. Paul Mogilevsky was arrested after deputies learned of his involvement in an April murder, according to an arrest document. Mogilevsky is a member of the Mongols Motorcycle Club, which is based out of California, but has local groups across the country. Mongols are involved in violent crimes, including forcing women into prostitution and drug trafficking. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office said that Paul Mogilevsky, 48, was interviewed after a man was found dead in his home on April 28. A medical examiner found that the victim had multiple gunshot wounds. The sheriff's office said Mogilevsky told detectives he and another person brought the victim home from Tampa before leaving him asleep on his recliner on the night of the murder. Further investigation found that the timeline described in the suspect's interview was actually false. Deputies said thanks to a confidential witness, they learned that Mogilevsky planned to kill the victim and admitted to shooting the man to death. The sheriff's office said they found independent evidence supporting the witness claims. Mogilevsky was arrested on a charge of first-degree murder. His jail record also has him listed as having an aggravated battery charge.
Joseph Lancia. About 4 years ago, Joseph Lancia ascended to the top position of the Rhode Island chapter of the Hells Angels biker gang. Placed in handcuffs, he was led from a Providence Superior courtroom to begin serving a 5-year prison sentence. Lancia, 30, of Smithfield, pleaded no contest to the charge of felony assault and battery, as well as carrying a gun without a license. The more serious charges of discharging a firearm when committing a crime of violence and assault with intent to commit murder were dismissed as part of the deal. Judge Kristen Rogers asked Lancia if he had anything to say before making the punishment official. "Nothing," he replied. Lancia will be placed on 10 years of probation when he gets out of the adult correctional institution in Cranston. The main case against Lancia stems from a June 2019 incident when police said he fired a gun at a truck driven by Richard Starnino, once a prospect to join the biker club, who was involved in an ongoing dispute with Lancia. Investigators said video surveillance shows Lancia shooting at the truck as Starnino was driving by the Hells Angels Providence headquarters on Messer Street. The video, which was the main evidence against Lancia, was from the clubhouse's own security system. The investigation into the shooting led to a dramatic daytime raid by the RI State Police. Dozens of full-patch members of the Hells Angels were in the courtroom for the sentencing, as Lancia's wrists were being placed in handcuffs. He nodded at fellow member and gave the group a smile. A sheriff then led him through a door to be ferried off to the ACI.